There is so much to talk about here in Colorado Springs. So much has happened this week. Let's talk about it right now. So we've got an upcoming mayoral and city council election. Got the ballots in the mail. So that was, you had on the ballot, you've got the mayor, and you've got like, what, 12 candidates running for mayor. There's city council members, and then you got to choose three. And then if you're in District 3, you get to choose an extra person. And then there's tops. So you get to vote on whether we get to extend our parks program, just putting extra money into our parks and setting aside the tax money in the tops program. So do we continue doing that for another, 10 years or something like that? And that's it. It's a pretty short ballot. So there are a lot of videos and podcasts on the candidates that are out now. So I mean, back like a week or two ago, it was not a whole lot, and that was when I was asking a lot of questions. And now I think pretty much everything has been answered. I haven't seen all of the podcasts and all of the videos that everybody has done. So. I've seen enough to know, my own decision, but ultimately there's like up in the air questions that never got answered. So there's things like, hey, so you've got Norwood, the developer who is putting $1 million into the Wayne Williams campaign for mayor. And you can say, okay, so he's bought by Norwood in a sense. And then, so there's a lot of people online who are like, oh, so he's bought. I'm like, well, what does that mean exactly? Like, okay, so he is going to do something that's in the interests of the housing developer and build more housing in Colorado Springs. So if you want that, this seems like this, okay, then that doesn't seem as a no, as a non-issue. But if you don't want that and you're like, hey, I don't actually want more housing, just leave it alone, then this would be a clear, like, oh, yeah, they're all for pushing extra housing. Well, that's exactly what they're doing. And if you don't like that, then don't vote that way. Um, Sally Clark is similar, where she's getting campaign funds from another developer. So, similar uh, potential future issues, I guess, with having, you're like bought out by this developer or potentially beholden to whatever they want, or you get buddy buddy with them. I don't know. The question that never got answered for me was when the 128% water rule was established here in Colorado Springs, is that so? As I'm understanding it, Norwood, the developer, the biggest developer here, is exempt from that 128% water rule. And does that mean everything that they've ever built is not being included in this percentage for the city? Or does this mean everything that Norwood builds from here on out is not included in that percentage? And either way, why is particular housing not being included in that? This is supposed to be an accurate percentage amount of how much water we need for the city to have before we start building extra houses and condos and townhomes and whatever. And so if you're excluding a developer out of that, that seems kind of stupid on top of shady. So there's that. On the other hand, this is all that we talk about in Colorado Springs and in Colorado is I want affordable housing. And it comes with a cost. Somebody has to pay for it. So whether it comes out of our tax dollars or whether it's coming out of I guess it is because the city allocates a certain amount of, incentives toward developers, toward new construction. So, I mean, the reason that Classic Homes and Vantage Homes and Oakwood Homes and Campbell Homes, all these different, the reason they're all Challenger, they're all out here because they're getting incentivized to build out here. They're making a profit to build out here, and they're getting incentivized by the city and by the state to build out here. So if you take away those incentives, there's less reason for them to build if they're not making a profit. And they're not making a profit off of the small homes. They're building these big homes, these bigger homes that there are not entry level, starter level homes. They're building the bigger ones because those are the only ones that they can actually make a profit off of. On the other hand, Dwayne Williams is endorsed by current mayor, John Suthers. So if you like John Suthers and if you agree with John Suthers, then I feel like that has some clout for Wayne Williams to have the support from John Suthers, to have the support from Sheriff Roybal, and then from the firefighters as well. So the question of, is Wayne Williams going to make decisions that are in the city's or the residents' best interests, or is he going to make decisions that are in his own best interest or in Norwood's best interests? And I don't know. I mean, I don't have a lot of historical experience with the specific decisions that Wayne Williams, or his time on city council, that he has passed or not passed. So if you've got some historical info on how he has voted when it's come to affordable housing in the past, let me know. Put a comment down below. He had mentioned that Norwood had put together some bill, or there was something recently that he had voted no on, even though it was Norwood had tried to push it through. So you could look into that. I know that to give you another example, so the El Paso County Commissioners, so there's five of them, and so it was on the news that they all, actually, I don't know if it was on the news, they all got, the ones that are currently serving, the ones that won, all got at least a third of their campaign donations from Classic Homes. So I mean, do what you will with that info. But then there's another news article that just came out recently. I'll put a picture of it up. The El Paso County Planning Commission denies a recommendation for 450 homes near Black Forest. So this is something that Classic Homes was trying to push through and get a development going over there. And because the residents said, no, we don't want that, the commissioners said, okay, well, we won't do it. And like I said, a large chunk of their funding comes from Classic Homes. So to say no to that, I feel like is an example of where they're not necessarily going to vote in favor of the developer's best interest just because they have some money coming in from that. So that seems good to hear. And again, if you've got something to the contrary, let me know in the comments down below, because I'd like to have an informed decision. But, as far as, the decision of mayor and, well, I guess just to start, yeah, mayor, after having seen everything, there's, maybe three or four people who have some, I feel like, a good head on their shoulders. They seem to know what they're about and what they would want to do. There's some weird ones in there for sure. And then with the city council candidates, I didn't give as much attention to them. Although, I mean, there's a lot, and I watched stuff on them. It's just, it wasn't nearly as interesting as, the mayoral decision. Now, I had somebody show this, send me a link to this, because I had no idea that this bill was in play or that it's being proposed. But I'm assuming there's a lot of bills that come through that don't get approved, so this is nothing new. But this one is called HB 23-1190, and it's called Affordable Housing Right of First Refusal, concerning a right of first refusal to purchase qualifying multifamily residential property by a local government. So basically, what this is if this bill were to pass, it would require that before you sell, in the whole state of Colorado, before you sell your property officially to somebody, you have to let the government know about it. And they have 14 calendar days to preserve their right of first refusal, an additional 60 calendar days to make an offer, and must agree to close on the property within 120 calendar days of the execution of an agreement for the sale and purchase of the qualifying property. So, I mean, if that sounded nuts, yeah, it is. I'm just like, wait, what? Okay, so the government has the option to come in and say, we're going to pay for this, we're going to buy this property instead because we want to use it for affordable housing purposes. I don't know what there's no provisions that I can see in here on, okay, what are they going to rent it out for? Maybe it is and I just missed it. But this all applies to both multifamily and single family residential properties. All of them. all of them would have to go through this process of letting the government decide if they want to buy your property before somebody else does. And I went, are you out of your mind? I mean, talk about overcomplicating a process for no reason whatsoever. If the government wants to get involved and buy a property, let them buy it on the open market. But this just says, okay, well, now you have to create an office with a few people who are going to look at these applications for, like, oh, do you want to buy this property before I sell it to this person over here? And you have to get them involved and decide if they're going to do it. Like, do you realize how long you're going to drag out the process of trying to sell property here? I mean, if you're looking for something to decrease the demand for affordable housing here, I feel like this would be it. This would just really kill the deal. But so that those are the highlights that I saw on this. And if you don't offer your government, any local government, you have to like put a notice out. And if you don't actually do that, they can fine you $50,000 or 30% of the purchase price of the property. How insane is that? That if you don't give them that option, that they just, and I just thought it was way out of left field bill. I don't expect it to pass, but the friend of mine who sent it to me was just very concerned about, is this going to be a new situation? Um, I don't think so, but if it were to be a new situation, that would really put a dampener on all Colorado-based housing purchases, wouldn't it? And then I just saw this one. This isn't based in Colorado Springs, but this brought up a very interesting possibility was, you see the 3D printed houses, right? You see them on TikTok, you see them on social media. They're just like squeezing them out like glue with a machine. And you're like, why can't we do that here, right? Okay, so $99,000 to build one of these right here. 100K to build affordable housing. Now, I'm not sure how big this is, but I mean, if you see the picture here, it looks like rather tasteful, the way, I mean, that's the concrete that they poured out. You can see how they just made the wall, I guess. But so I'm sure if we go down here, you see some, okay, there's this dude in a cowboy hat. That's probably the founder. Okay. So Okay, so you can see, yeah, here's a picture of them like doing the print of the walls and stuff. If you could do that here in Colorado Springs and just make the zoning, and that's what the multifamily zoning, I'll pull that up so you can look at it, is all about, is trying to make it easier to uh, just relax the zoning restrictions so that it's easier to build eh, just different kinds of housing. So if you could build something that, maybe it doesn't look the same as a traditional house, let's say, it better not look like that. What is that? Oh, that's a amphitheater. Okay. So, but yeah, if you can just build anything, um, more than 2,000 square foot house with a separate 300 square foot one bed, one bath accessory dwelling unit. That's cool. I don't know how expensive that would be to build, but um yeah, do they say like how much what the square footage of this would be to build? No. And then look, you got something like this. The city council, who, I mean, how many of them have been, I don't know anybody else on the city council who's getting a lot of their funding from developers, but it could be. I just haven't looked into it. So, but the city council approves purchase of more than 1,000 acres of open space on the city's east side. The design phase of the proposed Wild Horse open space on the southeast side of Colorado Springs can now begin. We told you yesterday about city council approving 7.5 million. They just um, 7.5 million from the TOPS budget to acquire just over 1,000 acres. So they're going to work on that. So an open space park area is what they're planning for here. And so if we look, what did the map? I didn't even look at the map. Can I look at the map? Can I look at the map? Is this a video? Oh shoot. Okay.
Public have access. Bill Folsom went to parks leaders for some answers.
Where those trees are in the distance is the Wild Horse Ranch property. It has gone from a proposed open space now to reality because City Council just okayed the money to finalize the purchase of the land. For people anxious to get out and use it, there's going to have to be some patience. The Plains to Peak view is a big part of what makes the future site of the Wild Horse Ranch open space appealing. Colorado Springs City Council also voted to pay millions for the land because more park options like this are needed on the east side of the city.
Look for those opportunities.
That's cool. So yeah, you get to have an extra park right there. So, oh, there's the airport. Okay, so it's going to be like just east and northeast of the area is what that whole little spot looks like. Just open trails, you can walk, take your dogs. Yeah, that'll be really nice. Notice they're not turning that into homes. Because back when, like a year or two ago, when they were looking at annexing like all this additional land on the east side, and I think east of the airport was included in that, yeah, there was the possibility, I suppose, to turn that into homes. But I think it's better. I mean, you don't really necessarily want a house right next to the airport, do you? As you have them all like just west of the airport. So, but also, yes, there's not as many big park spaces. So I think that'll be really nice. And if you have been noticing, more states, more cities are starting to pay attention to those forever chemicals, those PFAS. Last I heard, Hawaii or Honolulu was noticing small amounts of forever chemicals in their water system. So now you got this report. Colorado will start putting one of the country's most comprehensive PFA laws into effect next year. So it's drink some crap water in the meantime. But Fountain just got a new water filtration system to specifically deal with this. And it's because they specifically had problems with firefighter foam being used down there and just getting into their water source. Or I don't know if it was that or if it was the military base down there that was emptying some stuff into their water system. But regardless, yeah, it's all over the place now. They're testing in animals in the rainforest. They're testing in everything. Every remote place has got the forever chemicals, and now it's just we're trying to get it out. And so one of the things that I've considered here in Springs is a reverse osmosis system. So if you just go to like Home Depot or Walmart, Lowe's, or what any of those stores and get those primo water systems, just those 5-gallon buckets where they're just, if you do the reverse osmosis, that will remove everything, including the PFAS. So you don't need to get extra fancy. I don't know why this is taking so long to make sure that our water's clean, but if you're really concerned about it and you want to get taken care of right away, I had looked into having a reverse osmosis system installed in my house. So as opposed to going to the store often and getting all these buckets, which sit in the plastic the plastic bucket anyway, you can get the system and have it installed like at the base of where your water comes in through the whole house. And it's a couple $1,000, but then you've got water that's for sure cleaned, and you don't have to worry about this ridiculousness where now, because like late last year or early this year, they had advised us don't drink the rainwater. The rainwater is not safe to drink anymore. And I'm like, I'm just drinking like, stick out your tongue, snowflakes. You can't do that either. You can't drink out of a hose because it's just, all this water is bad. And it's just, you have to be careful about it now and make sure that your water is clean. And so we're seeing this now where our state is actually taking they're finally taking a look at this and seeing what they want to do as far as, well, yeah, labeling requirements for textiles and food packaging, because it's in there too. It's not just in your water, it's in your products. And so they're having to regulate not just the water, but just everything that this is in. So we're going to be seeing a lot more about PFAs if you haven't already heard about them. Aside from the political news, let's talk about chickens and eggs, because there's no egg shortage that I've seen here, but eggs are expensive. And so a lot more people have resorted to just getting chickens. If you've got a backyard, you got a house, go get some chickens. And you can even be in the suburbs because you can have up to 10 chickens in city. So, and actually, I think Pueblo, there was a news report on Pueblo you could have up to 12, and now they've just increased it. You can have up to 20. So they're recognizing that this is something people want, and it's not something that people are generally against, unless your chickens are making noise all day and just, because they can, but, or roosters, because you can have chickens, but you can't have roosters because they will tend to make more noise. But so the chickens for the spring, they sold out. and they're like big R's like out within an hour of getting chickens in, and they just get them in, and they ship in from the post office, and then they go pick them up, and then they're all gone within an hour. And then I don't know how much this is happening particularly here locally, but I was hearing news reports just generally about people returning their chickens, their baby chicks, or just, I guess, I don't know how old they are, but they realize they can't take care of them, or they don't want to deal with, I didn't realize how much work this was going to be. Like, well, yeah, they do poop a lot, and they're not generally indoor. They poop a lot. They really should go outside. So there is maintenance. You do have to take care of them. You do get eggs, and if you're not a bird person, I guess you'll find out fast. But so we got a few more baby chicks, and so you might hear them in the background here. But at some point they'll get old enough to where we can actually have them outside. We'll have to get a second coop for them, likely. But in the meantime, we'll have a bunch of eggs, and it'll be really nice where we, on top of having eggs and not having to pay these outrageous prices that we're expected to pay now for eggs for no reason, just have your own chickens, or find somebody that's, got chickens and will give you some fresh eggs, because they really are way better quality here when you get them, when you have your own chickens. There is still a police officer shortage. There's still a highway worker shortage, for the county. There's a lot of jobs, in those departments open. And if you're finding other jobs that are hiring, let me know, because I like to let people know. But Microchip is hiring, and then Integris is also hiring for workers. So there are jobs, not necessarily all types of jobs, but there are definitely jobs here available. There's also been a lot of incidences in the past year or two of puffing. So that's where somebody leaves their car running and then gets stolen. They're running it in their driveway usually, and then they just leave it unattended to warm it up, and then somebody just comes in and takes it for a joyride, and they find it a few days later. Motor vehicle theft is a big one here in Colorado Springs and Colorado in general. So it's just best to watch your car. Don't leave it unattended. Don't leave it on unattended, especially. And if you can keep it in the garage, please do. If you have the space, if you can make it work, please do, because so many people, including neighbors, I'm on the Nextdoor app, and they're like, "Oh, my car got broken into." I'm like, "Get it in the garage." Like, then they can't because the truck doesn't fit, or they got too many cars or whatever, but too much stuff. But I'm like, that's why they don't go and steal anybody else's stuff. So, if your car is in the garage, they don't have that problem. But not everybody can do that. So those are the news highlights that I have for you. If I missed something, or if you want to comment on some additional news thing, please let me know and put a comment down below. And if you are interested in buying or selling a home in the Colorado Springs area, I am a licensed real estate agent in the state of Colorado, and I would love to help you with that. Thanks for watching. I hope you got a ton of value out of this video. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, please click the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content like this, and I will see you in the next one.